day everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I just want to go through my Next Fest demo recommendations with you. So, I played about 35, I think it was the total number of demos that I've played over the Next Fest, and it was a big mixture of things that I'd sort of vaguely heard about, or, things I'd just heard about and seen that they had a demo. Flicking through the Steam Next Fest Discover window that you're seeing in front of you here, and just sort of whatever catches my eye, just installing the demo and jumping straight in blind, just purely based on maybe a short description or maybe some imagery of the game and stuff. Now, I've managed to narrow it down to about 9 demos that I really think stand out. Now, that's not to say that there weren't other good demos in there, but these are the ones that stand out as pretty much like, if the full game was to this quality, like right now, it could just be released. Like this slice of demo is just a great proof of your game is incredible already, and it just needs to be finished, essentially. So, let's jump right into it, shall we? So, the first one I want to talk about is BallxPit, and it's another game that is taking on the Vampire Survivors formula that has become very popular since said game has come out. This one takes on the genre, or this one applies the Vampire Survivors formula to the genre of, I've forgotten the name, but it's the, where you would fire, like, shots up and break the blocks above you, and then you would have, like, that moment where you get, like, a shot in above the blocks, and it's, like, bouncing like crazy all above them and stuff. You know the one. No one knows the name, so don't at me with that. But, BallxPit, essentially, that is what you're doing. But, as you're killing things, you're picking up gems, much like Vampire Survivors. These give you XP. When you level up, you get the choice of a new weapon. These new weapons can do all sorts of different effects, different things. Some of them being like, when this ball hits an enemy, they get a stack of bleed. When this ball hits an enemy, it attacks all the enemies in a 3x3 grid around that enemy, because the enemies kind of come at you in like squares. Because everything's very flat. All the enemies are very like flat surfaces and stuff. Because there's also like upgrades that you can get that are like extra damage if you hit them from the left side, extra damage if you hit them from the right side, because you're really incentivized to like bank your shots, because you're really trying to like make each shot as important as possible, because once the shot is out, unless it has some effect like, oh, on impact it explodes and then it's done, the ball just sort of stays out until it comes back to you, essentially. So if you can get that ball, or that shot really, in behind some enemies and bouncing all between them, that's just a ton of value for your shot. And it's very satisfying. They've really nailed the sort of the feeling of the Vampire Survivors, like when, stuff is just dying, there's just numbers flying everywhere, you feel like your build is really online. It's a fantastic game, and the presentation is very, very nice. Kind of got this like pixelated look, but very nice, very clean. It also has like kind of a town building aspect with like resources, and these are used to like build up a little town, or at least that's what it seems like for now, because obviously limited in the demo, so I couldn't really see the whole thing. But you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to get some resources, upgrade buildings, get new characters, because there was I believe there was 2 characters in the demo. One of them starts with like a bleed ball, the other one starts with like a fireball. However, the second character, he is less accurate with the little aiming reticule, however, fires faster. So a few differences with the characters and stuff, but it's a really good one. I believe it was shown off after the main Summer Games Fest at the Day of the Dev, I believe it's called. I forget the exact name of the showcase that happens right after Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest. But I've seen a lot of news come out of this one after that show, so. And I gotta say, it really, it impressed. It was very, very good. Really enjoyed that one. So if you like your Vampire Survivors type games, or like the Vampire Survivors formula attached to another genre, then you're really gonna like this one. And there's probably gonna be another game or 2 in here, actually. Yes, there's definitely one more, 2 more actually, that are gonna be sort of similar to that. So let's jump on to the next one. So the next one is Cloverpit. I know, 2 pits. Now, Cloverpit is the Vampire Survivors formula. but attached to this like buckshot roulette aesthetic like slot machine game where the goal is to reach a certain amount of money in a certain amount of turns, and if you don't reach that, you die, restart, but if you keep going, and it has this real like risk reward system of like, hey, you've gotten your number that you need to hit, but hey, if you keep playing, you could get even more like of the gold, and then that could set you up even better for the next run. So you do play it safe and just be like, all right, I know I've got this run, let's do it. Let's start getting upgrades and stuff on the go. Or do you get greedy and play for the next run sort of thing? And there's like little trinkets you can get that like increase multipliers on certain like symbols and stuff, so if you pull the slot machine, you get a bunch of sevens, depending on what, because it's a 5x5 grid, if I remember right. Or it might be 3x5. But basically, depending on what pattern exactly the things match up in, you get like different points and multipliers and stuff, which is pretty fun. And again, it captures that Vampire Survivors idea of like when you get a good like run going and all your trinkets are kicking in. It's obviously a bit more luck based than something like Vampire Survivors would be, but it's that sort of similar idea. And like I said, once you get like a good run and you're just like, wow, this is real no. This is real gambling. Yeah, definitely play this game instead of going actual gambling. But anyway, that's Cloverpit. It's very good. The aesthetic is very buckshot roulette, so if you've seen that game, you'll be right at home with this one. Now, the next one is potentially my favorite demo. I'm kind of tossing up between it and another one later. But this one, I'm like actively like, please, I need this game to come out. I need to play more of it. And that is Dead as Disco. Dead as Disco, in simplest terms, is Sifu meets Hi-Fi Rush. And it is as incredible as those two games being put together sounds. It is a complete flow state game. The music is absolutely incredible. The way everything is timed, the way everything feels, the way everything looks, the jumpiness of everything, like just the beats and the, just the bumpiness of it all, just absolutely incredible. I love it so much. It was the only demo that 10 seconds into the gameplay, I was sold. Completely sold. I was like, I love this. Everything about what I'm currently experiencing, love it. It's stylish as all hell. It's got a story mode, but it's also got like an endless mode where you can just sort of play against the different songs and get a score based on the song length, or you can do an endless mode on the song and the song just keeps going and it gets harder and harder and harder until you die. But there's stuff like, you got like timed parries, timed dodges, you got takedowns, you can build meter for like a quick flurry of rush attacks and stuff like that, and there's like ranged enemies, there's enemies that stand back and then charge at you from a distance. And see when it's all clicking and it's all flowing and the music is going and you're hitting to every beat, because if you hit the attack button to the beat of the song, then you do more damage, and just wow, incredible. Like, I really, really recommend downloading this demo and giving it a go. It's so good, so good. Could not big it up enough. I feel. But definitely one of the more like this is what it does and nothing else. Except for there is a story. There is a story mode, and you can play a bit of one of the levels, but unfortunately the demo ends before you get a chance to fight like the boss of the level, who looks really cool. So I'm looking forward to this one coming out and like doing the story and stuff like that, but also doing the endless mode. Really looking forward to that one. But anyway, the next game is called Hellclock. And this one is the other one that I was saying that's very much like, here's our Vampire Survivors formula attached to another genre, and that genre this time is ARPGs, so like Diablo, Path of Exiles type thing. Now, there have been other games that have done this, however, they have kept more to the side of Vampire Survivors, and just sort of gone with like maybe the aesthetic, or maybe like, some of the abilities, or like the way things work like that, like a bit more ARPG. The way this one works, I'm sure everyone at some point has seen a clip or a video of someone playing high level Diablo or high level Path of Exile, and they are just sprinting through corridors at Mach yes, and everything around them is dying, and there's just numbers flying everywhere, and there's loot dropping everywhere. That is what this one is trying to capture. Or at least that's what it feels like from playing the demo. Maybe it'll change from the full game, I don't know. But that's sort of the impression I got. So essentially, those runs in Diablo or Path of Exile, where you're just torching everything and you're moving at a million mile an hour, and there's loot everywhere and gold, all that flying, that is kind of like what a really good run in this game is. So you kind of start, it's like starting from level 1 in Diablo, kind of, every run. Obviously you've got your like meta progression stuff that's like, hey, this just makes you permanently stronger forever, you know, so you're never really starting from level 1 every time. But you know what I mean. But essentially, that's like the goal of this game. Is to eventually become that like lightning fast bringer of death that just wipes everything, and there's, you know, you see a health bar for a fraction of a second on an enemy and it's just gone and you got all the loot. And it's really cool. Really cool aesthetic. It's also set during a real world historical event with a supernatural twist. So really cool setting. Really cool setting. Like it a lot. Looking forward to that one. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. Another one of my personal favorites. So this would be like probably top 3, if not top 2. This one was called Jump Ship. And this one is kind of what I would have wanted from something like No Man's Sky. And I know No Man's Sky is very good now. Obviously, all those free expansions, Sean Murray, My Beloved, and all that. This one, however, is just what I would want from that specific type of game. And it is a PvE, space, mission-based, like, there is a story, but it seems more so like it's not a major like overhanging story, or at least it seems that way. This could be a demo thing, obviously. This could be a demo thing. Maybe the story gets way more involved in stuff like later on. But essentially, the premise is there's a machine virus has gone out, and machines are like taking over the galaxy. You and like a small group have to make it to like the machine home world, or like basically their home server, I guess, and try and blow it up. Now to do that, you need to go through different quadrants of a galaxy, and the missions they give you in the demo are basically getting your ship repaired so that you can like sort of go out and do more of these missions. So I don't know what the rest of these thematically are going to be like, but for the most part in the demo it's repairing your ship. But it's all the little decisions and all the little ways that you play this game are what really interests me. So you have your ship and you fly it around and you do space combat, and that's all well and good. But you're also just a person, so you can come out of the pilot seat at any time and you're just walking around your ship, and your ship has different modules and different aspects to it which may catch on fire, and then you need to go and put those fires out. And then maybe that ship you were fighting is now, you know, defenseless and has no thrusters, and then you can just walk out of the ship and fly over to that ship and board it. Take a like important module from their ship, bring it back to yours, and now you have that module on your ship. You know, you now have the rail gun that they were shooting you with, for example. So very like, you know, crew-based, very, like, position-based, so, like, you know, you have someone who's maybe, like, a gunner, because it's multiplayer as well. You can play it solo, and you get, like, a little robot that helps you out with some of the aspects. However, it's very hectic solo, especially when stuff starts exploding and there's fires everywhere, because the robot does not do that for you, or at least he didn't for me. So I had to jump off the pilot seat in the middle of a dogfight and put out a fire that was going to mess up the ship, which was very fun, very hectic. But you also move through, you see one of those, like, you see those roguelite maps that you see all the time when you're, like, moving through missions, where it's, like, you know, branching paths, like, here's your first mission, and then do you want to go left or do you want to go right, and then, you know, at the end it culminates in, like, a boss. So it's got, like, that for each, like, sort of mission, so you can choose, like, hey, that area over there is a little bit harder, but it's got maybe some really good ship upgrades, etc., etc., Really, really cool. The gunplay is excellent, because there's on-foot combat too, because you'll board an enemy ship and you might fight some robots, or you might have to go into an enemy blockade and turn off their jamming systems so that you can, warp away. So you'll have to go in there with a gun and fight the machines on foot and stuff. And there's little upgrades and like weapons and stuff that you can bring. Really, really cool. Just pretty much exactly what I've wanted from this type of game. And it'll be really interesting to see what the full release looks like, because the game itself is like shockingly polished. Like, I went into this thinking like, I don't know if I would maybe consider it AAA, but it was close. It felt close. Now, one aspect of this game that is a slight sort of bump in the road on it, and this is a personal thing to me. Maybe you don't care about this. That's all well and good, but I do, so I'm bringing it up. It does use some AI voice acting for some of the characters. Now, they have specified on the Steam page that this is just a placeholder for whenever the game is fully out. They will have, or for whenever they can fund voice actors, they'll replace it with them. So I hope they do. Personally, for me, if you want to use, that's like my compromise for AI. I personally am not a big fan of it being used in video games at all. I just think it takes away the personal touch of what makes a game. Every aspect of a game up until AI has been a decision by a person, and I believe that just makes games inherently more interesting. Using AI to do stuff just takes out some of the personhood of a video game, and to me that just makes them a bit more bland. But like I said, you'll have your own view on that. I have my view on it. That's just how it is, and I hope they do end up replacing that AI voice acting with proper voice actors. Even if it's just someone in the office, I would prefer that to AI voice acting, 100%, because it just shows that you put in that extra bit, Even if it's not quite as good as the AI could be, it shows that you cared about putting your effort into it. But that's just me. But anyway, the game is great. I hope they do well. I hope they get that AI voice acting replaced by actual voice actors. And I hope this game is fantastic when it comes out. Like I said, one of my top 2, maybe 3, depending on how another one sort of pans out. But yeah, jumping on to the next one, we've got Mio Memories in Orbit. And this one, very stylized, very, very stylized. It's kind of got this like hand-drawn effect on a lot of things. But it's a Metroidvania. Really reminded me of Hollow Knight in the way certain things worked. Now, I'm not hugely versed in Metroidvanias, so maybe the things that are reminding me of Hollow Knight are just reminding me of Metroidvanias as a whole, but some of these things felt quite Hollow Knight, but it also felt a little bit like Nier Automata. There was like a upgrade system, like a parts upgrade system that was kind of similar to Nier Automata, where you can remove parts to free up slots for other parts. You can even remove stuff like being able to see your own health bar, if it meant like, hey, I can do more damage now, for example. This one, probably not going to talk about it whole much because it's very story-based, so I don't really want to spoil much, but it's sci-fi. There's all this talk of like spines and like the creators abandoning these robots, and it's very interesting, really cool setting. My only thing with it was it didn't have anything above 1080p support. Now, the visuals of the game really don't need it to go any higher than that. Like, the game still looks absolutely fantastic on a 4K screen, 32-inch, running at 1080p. Like, the visuals still look incredible. So I don't know if that was a deliberate choice, because sometimes you would look at UI elements and they would very clearly be 1080p on a 4K screen and look very smudgy and not good. So, not sure what's going on there, but be interesting to see. But it's got this really cool aesthetic. There's this one particular part in the game when like your character is like asleep, even though you're like a robot. You're kind of like deactivated, and you're hearing like all these like bits of like potentially lore or like a character talking to you. It's hard to say, but it's all very, very cool. I like it a lot. The short bit that I played of it, there was a boss fight that I had to do, was very fun, challenging, but like fair. So it felt really good to beat. Exploration felt really good. Lots of like really cool shortcuts found, etc. Really, really had a good time with that one, but not a whole lot to say because a lot of it's going to be very story based. And the combat and stuff is, it's like Hollow Knight. It's like good combat, but it's not like insane, huge depth combat until maybe like later. Who knows? Who knows what the game will do later outside the demo. The next game I want to talk about, this is a very trippy one. And before I pull it up on the screen, just to let you know, this one is there's a lot going on visually, very fast, lots of weird visuals. So, like, even the game itself is like, hey, listen, this might be a lot to look at. So, just to let you know that as well. But it's called Tamashika. And it's this, like, time trial. Well, it's not really time trial, but there is, like, you are timed in it. But essentially, you're just going through, like, a hallway, essentially, as it's, like, being unraveled in front of you, it looks like. It's very cool. And the visuals of this game, I'm sure you're saying, are incredibly trippy, really, really fun. The music is great, but essentially it all comes down to this flow state you get into when it comes to the combat, because you have a gun and you have a knife. If you shoot an enemy, they die. If an enemy in melee attacks you, you have to wait for a symbol to appear, and then you can counter them with your knife. However, if you time that wrong, you're dead. Straight back to the checkpoint that you've come through. So every now and again, you'll hit these, like, shrines on the level that sort of the music kind of fades out a little bit or kind of goes, like, muffled. But those are, like, your checkpoints. So you'll go back to one of them. And this is the sort of game where you, like, think of it like Hotline Miami, where it's very easy to go into a run and just die 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 until you hit that, like, flow state of, like, everything clicks and it just works. And it is so satisfying. And the music and the visuals just go so well together. I knew I was going to play this one as soon as I saw just one screenshot of it. I'm an absolute sucker for games that just look visually very outstanding, and this is certainly one of them. But yeah, great time with this one. Really, really like it. You'll have these moments where you just feel absolutely incredible whenever everything clicks and you go through one of the levels and it's just like, wow. The music was pumping. I was just in the moment. I was parrying with my blade. I was shooting that guy over there. It just all feels incredible. There's not a huge amount to talk about beyond that because there's not a huge amount to this game. But what it does so incredibly well. I can't wait to see what this game adds on to what's already shown here, because what's already shown here is already very, very good. So, very excited for that one. Now, the next game is one of my other ones that I'd say maybe top 3, maybe top 2. And it's called Unbeatable, and it is a rhythm game. Now, I am not a huge rhythm game person. I have tried my hand at the likes of Osu and the odd bit of Guitar Hero, like, back in the day. But I've never been, like, an absolutely massive rhythm game person, so keep that in mind when I'm talking about a few aspects of this. They may be universal aspects to rhythm games, or, like, because I know what's that one called, Friday Night Funkin'. That's, like, a really popular one that a lot of people like rhythm game people. It's like, I feel like it's either Osu or Friday Night Funkin'. That's like your two at the minute. But this one, super, super, super cool presentation. The aesthetic, the animations, the way the camera movements happen when you're playing the levels, so gorgeous. It's also got a story, which I will be honest, I played a little bit of, and then I immediately went to the arcade mode just to do the songs, like to do the songs over and over again. So the story was very visually appealing to look at, but I feel like it's harder for a demo to capture its story because a lot of the time you're being chucked into very random places. So I felt very, like, out of the water, like, I don't really know any of these characters yet, so it's hard to grasp a demo story. But that is one of the selling points of this game as well, is the fact that it's a rhythm game that also has a demo. And I believe it will have unique aspects to the rhythm parts of it based on what is currently happening in the story as well. Because there was parts that happened in the story that I didn't see in the arcade mode, like certain aspects of it. Like there was parts where you, like, fight a cop, and it has this unique version of the rhythm mode just for that. So I think that is something that's going to be very cool. But essentially, this rhythm game only has 2 buttons, left bumper and right bumper. I'm not sure what the PC controls were, and rhythm game players might be thinking, wow, only 2 buttons? Like, how can that be hard? But the thing that this game does is it messes with your expectation of what you need to be doing with those 2 buttons, like, all the time. So not only it's because it's enemies that you're sort of, like, beating up, not only do they come from the left and right, but it might also change how you have to think about what each button is doing in relation to what's happening. And this messes me particularly. This messes with my brain super hard, like all the time. It's the sort of one where your brain is going to want to do one thing, and you're going to have to like quickly think in your head, like, that's not what I want to do. I need to change it. And then the notes gone past, and it's all going crazy, and you know, that sort of game. But essentially, the notes, say if they're coming from the right, an enemy might be coming. You time the hit. You use left bumper if it's an enemy on the low ground, and you use the right bumper if it's an enemy on the high ground. Now, what my brain keeps doing is, because it switches between left and right, so enemies coming from the left side of the screen, enemies coming from the right side of the screen, sometimes they're coming from both at the same time. My brain really wants to see the left bumper as enemies on the left side of the screen, and then right bumper as enemies on the right side of the screen. So my brain constantly is like doing that to me. But it's the sort of thing, you know, you play it enough, you get over it, sort of thing. But there's certain like obstacles where, so you think all enemies on the bottom of the screen, I gotta hit left bumper. Not too hard. However, now comes an obstacle that is, you need to use the right bumper to jump over it, technically. So it's like, you see something coming along the bottom of the screen, but you have to hit the other one to go up and over it, and then one might come from the top of the screen that's an obstacle, and you have to use the left bumper to go under it quickly, and then doing all of this in quick succession, while also like, maybe there's stuff coming from the left side of the screen as well that now you have to think about. Or, you know, there's different like patterns of stuff coming in, and there's just, it's crazy. And the whole while, the visuals are absolutely popping off. Like, the way the cameras do like slight tilts to really emphasize like certain notes that you're hitting. The overall presentation of everything, and the music is so good. Music is so good. It's got like these like different albums in the arcade mode, so like if you want music that's a bit more like rock based, then you can go for that. If you want one that's a wee bit more vocal based, go for this, you know, these tracks. I didn't play a single song that I was like, damn, I did not like this. I will say that this game is hard. Like, the difficulties are ridiculous. Once you start going above normal into like hard, and I believe it was expert, and then there's like unbeatable right at the top. I tried unbeatable on like one track for like 3 seconds and just immediately failed. It's the sort of thing you'll be working your way up. But it was a lot of fun. Absolutely loved it. The visuals are absolutely gorgeous. The music is so much fun. The way it does its rhythm elements are different to any rhythm game I've personally ever played. It's not just here's your 4 buttons, hit them whenever they're, you know, going through, and it'll just be different patterns that you have to watch out for. No, this game is like, these are your 2 buttons, be ready to think about how you interact with thinking about these 2 buttons. You know, it's very cool. Really, really cool. Looking forward to that one. And then lastly, I kind of forgot about this one when I was writing up my little list, because I didn't play it personally, but I saw a friend of mine playing it, and that is Dispatch, and it's the kind of animated superhero. It's not a Telltale game, but that's kind of as close as I can think about how to tell you, like, this is how your like the conversations and stuff are gonna go. But really interesting. The main character was a former superhero. He had like a mech suit. Mech suit gets broken. While he waits for it to be repaired, or to get it repaired, he takes up a job at a superhero dispatch. And he's leading like this team of former criminals who are trying to, like, you know, do good or whatever. And it's a very funny game. Very funny. The writing is incredibly just realistic. It feels just really human. Feels like conversations that would actually happen in these situations, and that's a big part of like what makes the comedy really work. There's a lot of interesting, like, hey, here's how this superhero might actually like mess up someone's, or this superpower might mess up this like person's life actually, you know, just with this slight different twist on it. All this sort of stuff. But it's really cool. It's got some interesting voice actors in there. It's got like Aaron Paul from like Breaking Bad and stuff. It's also got like Moist Critical in there. So interesting mix. But visually looks great. All the writing was absolutely on point. All the characters seem really interesting. Oh, and I should mention as well, there is another gameplay element to it. It's not just like Telltale, where you're just sort of doing like maybe some quick time events and dialogue choices. There's also the actual dispatching, where you get like this map of, here's this part of the town that your team covers. here is someone calling for help. You have to choose who goes there, and everyone has different like strengths and weaknesses. So like this character might be very smart, but they're not very charismatic, but they're very strong, but they're very agile, you know, all this sort of stuff. So you kind of have to choose who goes where. But if someone's already out on a mission, then you can't choose them to go over there. So then you might, you know, you sent someone over there and it might end up going bad. And just because you pick someone who's good doesn't mean they'll work every time, you know, but you can sometimes pick someone who's bad and maybe they'll actually pull it out of the bag. Really, really fun. Really fun game. Another one that I cannot wait for the full release to come out of, because it just seems like it's going to be an absolutely just a great time. Just the writing, the concept of the story, really, really good. But yeah, that is about it for me. Those are all my demos that I would say you should definitely go and take a look at. At least take a look at the Steam page, give the demo a download, just give it a bash, you know? Free demo, why the hell not? So yeah, thanks for watching, and I shall see you guys on the next video. Goodbye.